The Red Pill Fairy, Episode 2. Mommy Doesn't Know Best. Hello, brother. Pain is a great motivator, wouldn't you agree? Well, I'm not so sure about that. The pain my
Can't say that on YouTube.
of a mother dispensed with in order to crush any attempt of mine to individuate or convey ideas and opinions of my own surely didn't motivate me to try again, let alone harder. And the physical pain my
Can't say that either.
of a father dispensed with every time I tried to make it known that I don't appreciate to always having to cut off my own needs so my sister doesn't have to take off her metaphorical tiara, even for a moment, surely didn't motivate me to pursue anything, shy of the pursuit to spend as little time at home as possible. The whole thing finally came to a close when I walked away at the age of 16. No money, no clue, no plan. All I knew was I would not spend another night in that house. A promise I kept till this day. Nowadays, as a red-pilled individual, motivation is, yet again, hard to come by. I had some, quite a lot of it, actually. Back in the day when I thought working hard and being, a good man would be the foolproof guarantee to my happy ending. Never knowing the fool who needed proofing was me. These days, pain only motivates me further to detach. I no longer ask, what can I do? What can I add? What can I achieve to soothe pain? I ask, what can I let go of? What can I remove? How can I walk away from the person or the circumstances that cause me pain? I no longer feel any urge to overcome. I just keep walking. Walking away. Walking towards a life where the number one recipient of my love, my compassion, and my longing to nurture is me. The first thing my mother ever said to me right after delivery was, "Ew, he's ugly. I don't want him." I was born with the umbilical cord wound around my neck, so I had gotten a little discolored on the way out. If you hadn't noticed, almost suffocating would make anyone adopt a bluish tint. One day, I will draw my last breath, not knowing if she said that because she meant it, or if she was just
Excrement.
testing my father to check if he would continue to blindly worship the ground she wobbled on after speaking so ill of his progeny. Not that it makes any difference, because the indifference she displayed henceforth for my well-being was answer enough. The more I learn about human nature, the more I am convinced that I was an entrapment baby. That I was the rehearsal and my sister the desired outcome. Of course, she once said that I was the wanted one and my sister was the accident. She still owes me an explanation to why I was always treated like an inconvenience and my sister was treated like she was all they ever longed for. Doesn't make too much sense, does it? Of course, today, I'm no longer holding my breath on a woman ever making sense. And if you wonder how I know what she said on the very first of my birthdays, well, she told me. She told me in the same matter-of-fact tone and with the same utter absence of shame you nowadays can find countless women on the internet passionately confessing to having cheated on their boyfriends with his golden retriever. Don't believe me? Link below. I remember her saying these things to me so vividly because I was already at a point where the realization that my parents were full of
Excrement.
had started to desperately claw its way through the outskirts of my consciousness, begging and pleading to be permitted to manifest into the invaluable knowledge I carry as my sword and shield today. It took almost 3 more decades and a truckload of red pills until it finally got its wish. And I am grateful it held on this long. Truth seems truly more patient than myself. I went to school in Germany in the late 80s and 90s, and I already remember it being a gynocentric dumpster fire that I don't deem all too conducive to mental health and producing well-adjusted and socially apt adults. I consider the person I used to be before the red pill found me and disabused me of my erroneous worldview to be proof of that sentiment. So I have little to no doubt that boys who currently find themselves in the clutches of those purple-haired land whales with PhDs in primordial feminist cave drawings and systemic man-hating, trying incessantly to have them undergo all sorts of gender reassignment butchery, must be living through a nightmare that hits a strong 13 on a 1 to 10 scale of f***ed up. So much so that even our most cynical and disillusioned authors like Orwell and Kafka, who predicted plenty of the insanity that is our reality today, wouldn't even have dared to dream of. I really hope I get to stick around long enough to see if women finally made it. If they finally called wolf often enough and pushed that proverbial envelope hard enough to have raised themselves an entire generation of boys who'll be going, "You."
Term for sexually promiscuous female, generally considered derogative.
I'll be in my basement playing Call of Duty. You broke it. You fix it. So you watched your parents get divorced, your father destroyed, your family set a f***ing blaze, together with any prospect of ever having anything remotely resembling a childhood worth remembering. And now you want to do it all over again, 'cause Andrew Fake, Ben Not So Sharpiro, Hissy Fit, and Dennis Pray You Won't Find Out, by the way, according to the internet, a 2-time divorcee himself, said so? Why would you do that to yourself? Oh, yes. Sexual excess. The end-all, be-all of motivation. I really wish those boys would have chosen better heroes to unite behind than the likes of Fresh and in the Head and the Top G-String. Both, among others, so blatantly simpy and gynocentric, even I, with all the highfalutin lingo I reign over, find myself at a loss trying to convey the cyclopean extent of their overt worship. Watching them sitting there with a bunch of washed-up
Purchasable individual.
as they read statistics to them while their dishonored guests wiggle their
Tertiary reproductive organs.
without ever hearing a word they say, looks to me like the adult version of a boy pulling his mother's apron, begging for the kind of love she's simply not capable of. It's just sad and mildly infuriating to watch. Nothing alpha about it. I applaud them, though, for motivating young men to seek purpose and to find their voice in this heinous gender war. And I
Urinate.
myself laughing, watching the Australian government pump millions of extorted taxpayer money into a demonization campaign trying to wean boys and young adults off their admiration for Andrew. Link below. But I can't get over the fact that they only lead them right back to the source that caused all their problems in the first place. Unquestioning, unexamined, and unbridled deference to the holy, or in short, gynocentrism. Or as Andrew phrases it, I want men to be strong and successful so they can protect and provide for women.
excrement.
makes me wanna hurl. On the other hand, if I was 15, 16, 17, desperately waiting on being old enough to make my own decisions and get the f*** away from the crazy, I probably wouldn't bar much inclination to listen to the likes of Paul Elam, Spaznats, Stardusk, Barbarossa, or yours truly. Andrew not being a spring chicken himself, he seems to know how to tell them what they wish to hear, aided by his, let's not call it boyish charm, let's go with youthful demeanor. Wink, wink. So yeah, can't blame them that they don't want to sit through all the deeply philosophical and maybe, or maybe not, sometimes a wee bit wordy stuff that us old people keep churning out. After all, they're predominantly
Unpleasant.
predominantly old, predominantly female, and predominantly batshit crazy teachers had a decade or more to hammer it home that us old people can't be trusted. Who wouldn't prefer the private jet, as unrealistic the concept might be? Andrew might be conveniently omitting that, yes indeed, anyone can be successful, but not everyone. Crucial difference. Be reminded, you'd be marrying the same obnoxious
Term for socially disruptive female, generally considered derogative.
that
Defecated.
on you every day from first grade till graduation because you weren't 6 foot, didn't have the right sneakers, or simply for being a boy. And don't forget, most women suddenly lose all interest in intimacy the moment they have their man unit by the balls using the state-sanctioned vice that is the family court. You know, the same people who drove your father into having to live in his old Volvo. Or worse. And who taught them all that? Well, they're single mothers, of course. Round and round we go. To anyone with enough smarts not to touch himself on the subway, it's obvious that this
Excrement.
show we call the West and its society is currently being crushed by an overdose of female hubris, empowered by an army of soy-ridden addicts, is an issue that's been in the making for quite some time. Several hundred years, in fact. If you want to do a deep dive on that, I recommend checking out gynocentrism.com. While you still can. Elon might have given us a little breather from the Orwellian levels of thought policing we suffered through the last decade or so, but I have no doubt that the pendulum will swing back sooner than any of us would care for. Sounds conspiratorial to you? I can see how it might. Regardless, I'll be over here on the other side of our godforsaken little space potato, ironing my aluminum foil hat and laughing away with the locals as we watch you desperately try to comply your way out of tyranny, all while pretending none of it is really happening. Save in the knowledge that, over here, man-haters are showered with ridicule, not taxpayer money. Thanks for listening. If you like this content, please leave a like, the most important metric employed by YouTube. Subscribe and maybe leave a comment. Won't cost a thing. If you wish to support me further, please check out my Subscribe Star page. See you next time.